So we are here at looking at a new investment area. Now it's always good to get boots on the ground really to have a feel of the area, definitely, because again, if you've been watching any of my other videos, we always put any deals through obviously the black belt framework really. So on the spreadsheet it's all looking good, very high return on capital employed, which is fantastic. The rent spread's about 650 to 750. As you can probably hear, it is a quiet street. However, the things that you should be looking at really is obviously the stock. Just typical northern mill town this really. Stone fronted terraces, as you can probably see at the side of me and so on. So we're looking at a property in about 15-20 minutes. But again, whenever it's a new investment area, I definitely always walk the areas just to see what it's like, because on the spreadsheet it might be the most fantastic investment ever. However, obviously some of the criteria we need to be looking at is, am I happy enough, in fact, is this the one? Am I happy enough to be having this in my portfolio for the next 10-20 years? It would help if they had numbers on the doors. Am I happy with having this portfolio? Hopefully it is that one that's sold, because then if it has already been sold, obviously a sale has fallen through at some point, hence why it's come back on the market. So yeah, the spreadsheet reveals it's looking okay. Would we be happy having this in our portfolio for the next 10, 15, 20 years? We'll find out when we get inside and when I have another walk around. We've got 4 viewings this morning with a new agent, so try and build a little bit of rapport with that agency, find out a little bit more information. In terms of, and again, I never want to turn these into how-to videos, but you probably from here now, from the motorway, it probably took us 10, probably 12 minutes to get to this street. Had a bit of a drive around the town centre as well. I think from here you're probably looking at just under 10 minutes walk. So again, the transport links seem okay. Town centre proximity seems alright as well. So we shall see. There isn't, looking along this street now, there's 2 for sale boards up. So we'll probably find out more on the other viewings. If I manage to, when we're inside the property as well, I'll give you a little bit of a video as well, probably on this same video, to see what the spec of works like that's needed. In terms of this being a fantastic BRRR area, I don't think it is, because if you're going to be spending 20, 25 on a property to do it up, I don't think there's enough uplift there for you to obviously pull a lot of money back out. It might just work out a little bit better. So we'll see. Okay, so when you're looking to invest in a new investment area, especially us, when we're looking to invest in a new area, of course we want to put it all on the spreadsheet. How much capital is going to be deployed, including, you know, the deposit, stamp duty, land tax, legals. Then a separate side of that then is the refurbishment needed based on obviously the viewings and so on. What's the rental spread like? What's the rental demand like as well? So we'll see. Okay, so if you're looking to obviously continue building your portfolio, 2 million upwards, 5 million upwards, 10 million upwards, whatever it is, you still always need to have the mindset there. Understand the basics, just as any black belt would understand the white belt basics, and continually evolve and refine the basics, because it's upon those principles that you can build successful portfolios. So yeah, hopefully I'll get in on the next video. Good luck. Okay, so now at the second viewing, again, always be aware of the gable ends, and that obviously has been cut down, which is fantastic, but you've got to be aware that you're going to be looking after that third wall when it comes to pointing and so on. This has not had a sale agreed or anything, but again, it's only about 2 or 3 streets away from where we've just been. Going in here, hate stuff like this. Definitely we need to have some sort of standards with refurbs, so that would definitely be going. Panel type of look here that we're looking at. So we'll go into the front room here, reception room, which has got that door to get into the kitchen, and also obviously that door as well to go through. Lovely anaglitter wallpaper, oldish radiators, windows. Again, they'd be alright with a bit of a clean, but what you're looking to achieve with this. Is it B triple R? Old internal doors, again, they would need to go. Underneath here, let's see, we have got the electricity there. Again, have some sort of standards, spend a couple of minutes cutting away that expanding foam once it's done what it needs to do. Being aware of replacing these radiators, they are quite dear, those 6 foot ones, so be aware of that. You've got the high sockets over there in the corner. Kitchen galley-ish style, you'd want to rip all this out here, there, and just pretty much have an L shape here, but starting pretty much there really, so get an extra 6 inches out of it. Boiler, again, haven't seen a painted boiler for a long time, but there you go. So kitchen for the oven, but it's a freestanding one, so again with space you need to be aware, is it going to be freestanding or built in. Here we go again, this is where your refurb can really get carried away. Looking up there, the sun is shining today, so look at the drain pipe at the top when it goes into the hopper, or it should fit into the hopper. Same here, look at the, you can just see above the bathroom window. I haven't been upstairs yet. Again, that should have a cap on. The back of the property isn't looking too well. Again, you need to get the scrap man there for that. So if we're just thinking here, B triple R, again, water's getting in somewhere from there. You know, the numbers are not yet jumping out at me. So let's head on upstairs quickly. So again, large room though, definitely. If we've seen any of the other portfolio, you'll see obviously with that second room, you turn the front reception room into your front bedroom. Single socket again. So let's head on here into the front bedroom. Is there any, wow, a very large bedroom, definitely. Again, easy fix is getting your new internal doors. You'd want to be replacing single sockets with double sockets. That is quite a low window. Again, large there, but there's actually no signs of damp from there, and it doesn't smell as if it's just been painted. Here we go, a little bit of space there. And again, just, you know, when you're having standards, make sure they're finishing things off properly. But, you know, some people are just happy cutting corners, try and get tenants in as soon as possible, but really you want to be finishing it off to a decent standard, especially if you're doing the B triple R, but more importantly, just for your own peace of mind really, so that you know yourself your properties are at good standard. So let's switch around here. Again, we're still upstairs here. Bedroom, again with 3mm carpet, probably no underlay, same old really. Internals, a bit of a botch it job of painting, but those are easy fixes. The 3-inch skirting boards and so on. There's your roof, and then you'd need to obviously maintain that tree even though it's not on the land. You'd want to make sure, old window. Let's then head back through here. You'd want to ideally skim over that just to freshen it off. Bathroom, no shower. There was the extract fan. So how would you get a shower in here? Again, you'd want to make sure something is there, or just not ideal, but you know, one of the shower curtain things. I might have seen one in the other properties. Again, rip the flooring out, probably skim coat everywhere, maybe keep the mirror. What else have we got here? Just probably a bit of extra storage. Add the old immersion heater in there, water tank, so on. So yeah, from this, it's better standard than the other one. It feels like a bigger property. Still needs some work doing to it though. So we'll see what the other one's like. Check the other side. So this is a third property at the back of the property now. Again, another pet hate is when people paint the bricks. Obviously, you want to ideally, all boils down to money though, doesn't it? Get all of that off. This downpipe said it's in better days. Again, you can always pull the property to pieces, of course you can, but it boils down to the pounds, shillings and pence. And don't probably painted black maybe because it looks better than white, but white would make it more appealing. Gable end, so again the third wall you need to look after, plus it's going to cost the tenants more to heat up. Back door is okay, a very large kitchen area in here compared to the last one we went into. So would you keep the kitchen? For us, really, again, if you're looking at end values, recycling BRRR, although it's nice and large, you probably would want to rip it out. Maybe just go where we're going here. Just possibly maybe getting rid of this and having that area still as your kitchen area, and then just down there. Again, it depends how much you're looking to spend on it. Radiators there. Let's go up the stairs. So we've got staircase in the middle of the house, running from left to right, going up here. Let's go into the main bedroom now. I'm having deja vu because it seems very similar to the other one. Same old story really, single sockets, at least they're not in the woodwork. You've got your 2-inch skirting board there or whatever it is. Again, plastering up there. Window to leave some ventilation in. You don't want to whitewash it all really. Where'd you go up to? Doesn't appear to be anything through there. So this big double room has got one single socket, another single socket, so 2 single sockets in this large room. Oh no, there's another one, double socket. So again, if you're thinking about the tenants standards, you want to get in a few more double sockets in there. Back bedroom, again, it's not a tiny room. That window's shot failed, so that needs replacing. There's outside. Let's see again, what's everybody else done? So we're not doing too bad really. Let's have a look. Where's the, again, double trunking. Come on lads. But again, it's people's up to their own decisions, isn't it really? Very security conscious. Or is it a little bit of an illegal multi-room thing? It's going into the bathroom. I don't think there's going to be a shower here. No, again, no shower. Now you might think that's not a big thing, but what will normally happen is, especially with no surround, all of this ends up getting wet through, and again this is likely to suffer a lot, and then it starts to drip down, and experience tells us that then suddenly they only let you know when it gets to a really bad situation. What's in here? Just now, here we go. So let's go around there. The boiler, another Valiant. Let me see. Valiant boiler flue there. Obviously goes out the gable end. I'm about 8-10-year-old, maybe, probably more than that. So this property now is the third one we've seen. We've got one more to do after this. Again, the numbers, as I said to you before on the spreadsheet, the numbers seem to work out well. Return on capital employed versus obviously the amount of money that you put into it. The rental area the rental demand seems steady. You can just pull it back to, would you be happy with this in your portfolio? Would you not be happy with it? Is the returns good enough for you? But the main thing is you want to be securing it at the best possible price. Always need to be locking profit in from day one in case the market turns, and also in case your budget for the refurb goes a little bit over. At least you've still got a little bit of leeway if you're doing the BRRR. So I'll probably do the 4th and final video just straight after this. Good luck. Just one thing I noticed again, if you're having a look at the sag in that ceiling. So yeah, you'd probably want to be aware of that, and you might even need to bury it alive. But if you do that, you've then got to be aware that if you put in a false ceiling, look how much room up there you haven't really got. You've only got about 3 inches before it touches the window, and the last thing you want to be doing is ripping down this ceiling and unveiling over 100 years of dust. debris and everything. That will be an extremely messy job. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled all the time. Walking down the stairs again, this is where the boiler is. So just, again, it's got a little bit of giving that. So just be aware of these small things that can creep up and eat into your refurb budget. Going around here, I realised I didn't do the front room before. You probably want to just keep that for the sake of it. Let's have a look at the windows. There we go in. Windows. Again, probably that's short. Let's have a look how many sockets. One double socket and two double sockets with another stain on. Obviously trunking going up there into the boiler, old radiators. So yeah, but however, that's always a nice little touch. You never see that anymore. I've got a couple in our portfolio with that have that on, and it's always a nice little feature. So just finished our third and final viewing. It was supposed to be 4, but the agent said they'd just agreed a sale on the 4th one, and obviously the owner had said not to do any more viewings, even though we did try to obviously persuade her that it might be worth the while, but you can understand they didn't want to do another viewing. So in the order that we've just seen these, and again I'll do a more detailed breakdown of this afterwards when I get back to the office, the order that we've seen them in probably would be reversed in order of buying decisions. So this last one that we've just seen, the third one really will be the best one area wise, but we need to obviously go back and work out the final numbers to see what's needed and take it from there really. However, probably here it's a little bit busier. Just down there is quite a busy street, and I was speaking to one of the neighbours. Again, you never say, oh, I'm a property investor, you know, we're looking to buy a house here and put tenants in. You just come across to just say, we're thinking of moving in this area, what is it like, you know? And she just said parking can be a bit of a trouble, which is fine, but she likes the fact that it's 5 minutes walk from the town centre, just over 5 minutes walk to the train station. And again, when you get in to hear the feedback from people that live around here, it just helps you a little bit more. If she'd said it was terrible, there's police here every night, and obviously there's lots of bad things happening in the properties, I'm sure she would have told me, and that's always definitely a no sign. Let's cover it that way. So yeah, just we'll do the correct due diligence, and again, it's always about maintaining those standards, thinking long term, and thinking, is this going to help you, obviously, or us, achieve the goals that we want for the assets really. Good luck. Said that quite a lot. So just finished the deeper dive into the due diligence of those properties that we saw this morning. So now, obviously, we only managed to get 2 videos of the properties we went into. The first video, we obviously took a video, but there was no sound coming through, so it felt like it was a bit pointless to take it onto this video without any running commentary. However, what we mentioned at the start of the video was the fact that you always need that clear set of parameters, clear set of standards, what we always refer to as a black belt framework, and then it just filters itself through to decide whether or not it's a deal. So the 3 properties that we saw, we were scheduled to see 4, as I mentioned, but the 4th property that we were booked in for, I think they'd had a sale agreed yesterday or the day before or something, and the vendor didn't want to go ahead with any more viewings, which is understandable. So from the 3 properties that we saw, the first one was an absolute no-go once we've got back and done the maths, which is why we like to do things very old school, pen and paper style stuff. So that one was up for, let's have a look, offers over 80. And again, depending on which area you're looking to invest in and so on, that may or may appear cheap. For our normal investment area, that is extremely cheap, 80,000. But if we look at it this way now, it needed let's have a look what it needed on the back. Needed a front door, tidying the front yard and backyard, new internal doors, gas fire needed removing, bricks around needed knocking out as well, a couple of new windows, a couple of new radiators, kitchen as well, quite a bit of a refurb really. Now again, we're not scared to do deep refurbs, definitely not. If anything, those are the best that we've found in the past to create the most value. But this is again some of the nuances that you need to understand really. If you're looking to create that for your first, maybe your first deal, maybe your first million portfolio, maybe obviously taking it a step further forward to 2 million, on your way up for 5 million and so on, the refurb would have cost approximately £15,000, but that is obviously without having a look at the roof. And again, if it needed a new roof, it was just a simple up and over, so you're probably looking at about 5/6 for that. So the refurb there could have been upwards of 20,000 plus 10% contingency either way, so £22,000 maximum. Now, again, you're probably getting a lot done there for that 20,000, but if you secure it at 80, which you'd need it to secure it a lot less, you're spending 20 on it, it's now worth 100 in theory, but they're all going around there for 110s, 115s, 120 if they're all looking absolutely brand new. So there's definitely not enough meat on the bone there to warrant that as a deal, which is why red ink clearly no go, definitely. I think we always put a little notes on the bottom as well. Maximum that we'd pay for that was £55,000, because you could be investing in the property. The property market could take a dive, like what happened during COVID. Building materials could escalate up, and then suddenly what you thought you were expecting if you're doing the BRRR doesn't materialise, and you've dumped all that money in the property, and then you won't be able to pull money out, and as a result your return on capital employed goes from somewhere from 12, 14, 16% down to 2 or 3%, and then you're just relying on the cash flow. So that one is absolutely a non-starter for us. The second and third property, the second property which we viewed, but I believe it was the first video that you've just seen, our first walk around, that probably needed about £13,000/14,000 spending on it for the refurb. And again, that said offers over 95. So the previous one that I've just lifted up was offers over 80. This is offered over 95, so there's already £15,000 difference in the price, but you're roughly spending the same amount on the refurb. So again, if you're silly and you do end up paying 95 for it, plus 14, round it up to 15, you're at £110,000 there with a property that could be worth 120. Again, the maths does not make sense at all. You want to make sure that you're securing the property at the lowest price possible, fantastic, but that you're managing to get all of your money back that you're spending on the refurb, especially on these smaller properties. Now again, if it was a 3-bed end semi and the refurb was 20, fantastic, but you'd likely increase the value upwards of 40, then it's a go. But for that, it's not really a go, that one. However, what we probably will do is we'll probably put in a realistic, there's a difference between realistic and cheeky, we'll put in a realistic offer, because that's been on the market for just over 7 weeks now, coming up to 8 weeks. So if we were to offer on that, again, the maximum that we would pay for that is maximum will be £82,000. So never be scared to put in offers that may appear cheeky. It's from the experienced eye, from that black belt investor eye. You understand how things are looking and how much it's going to cost. So on your way upwards of building your portfolio, and like us now continuing to build on our asset base and so on, you need to make sure the deals are extremely efficient and refined, because the principle of Kaizen, those small little increments on your refurbs, on your refurbs and pushing the ceiling rent and also securing it at the correct price, are all going to manipulate, should I say, impact your return on capital employed. And that's the best metric that we always want to be looking for. And again, that could possibly be a BRRR one, but there's not really that much in it. It'd be okay if you said, right, I don't mind putting £25,000 in that property for a while and just letting it recycle itself over the next 5, 6, 7 years. The cash flow is probably about 300, 330 a month and so on. It's not too bad. If it was a choice of putting the 20, 22, £25,000 into the bank or that property, then it would be that property all day long. But you always want to pull it back to, we're doing this to try and build the wealth, build the cash flow, make sure that we're making wise decisions all the time. Okay, looking at it through professionals' eyes. Now, this was the best one of the three, the last one that we saw. And again, if you remember, I spoke to one of the neighbours. She was just bringing her bins out. let me have a look. End terrace, again, 2 end terrace we saw today really, so you're always looking after that third wall. This needed a refurb of, let me have a look here, 13 if you weren't going to touch the kitchen. But again, when you're starting to do all that work, you might as well, do you know, let's put a cheapish kitchen in, £4,000 there, let's get a kitchen done. So you're probably looking about 17, 18 for a refurb. Done to a reasonable standard, and it was up for 89,950. So £50 short of 90,000. 2-bed terrace, you're probably going to get a rental around there of about maximum 700. So again, what normally happens is the lower the purchase price, the lower the rentals. For some of our normal investment area, again, when we purchased a few years ago, but the ones that we've purchased recently for 130, 140s, 150s, their rents at about 850, 875, 9. We've got one at 915 that I can remember. So the maximum that we would pay for that maximum is 77 based on what's needed. So 89 to 77, it's £12,000 difference. It's not that much when you're looking at things and thinking that that could all go towards a refurb, but in terms of percentage scale that's actually taken off the purchase price, just round it up to 90. So it's 90, take away 10% is 9. So 81,000 is still only a 10% reduction off the saving, off the asking price. 15% will be 9 plus 4.5, so 13.5. So yeah, we'll be looking to achieve at least on our last offer, last and final offer, at least 15% off the asking price there, because you'd still want to be making sure there's money on that. So I might do another video. I've got a mentoring session later on, but I might do another video explaining a little bit more detail why one of the properties didn't meet the criteria, because I think that's always useful as well. If you are serious about looking on building your property portfolio, again, it's always about understanding what's needed up here. Most people can break down deals, of course they can. What's the purchase price? What's the stamp duty, land tax? How much are we budgeting for legals? What's the refurb? Again, how deep is the refurb? What are our holding costs going to be during the refurb? What's the finance cost as well? So always build that in. And then what we're looking to reevaluate at the end, what does that have to do with our cash flow and so on. So most people know how to do that, okay? But it's about understanding the longevity of it and thinking to yourself, right, if things do take a little bit of a turn for the worse, I need to make sure I'm locking in profit from day one in case suddenly the equity that I think I've bought suddenly is wiped out. So you need to always lock it in from day one. You then need to make sure that, of course, our rental spread is 650 to 750. What happens if we only secure it for 650? And then also what happens if during the first year, now again, we've got figures going back 15 years now. I wish we'd had it for the previous 4 or 5 years, because obviously it would be even more accurate still. But you want to make sure that your properties are only being empty in 1 month every couple of years, really. That's pretty much it, if you're securing a tenant properly. So again, there's things like that you want to be taking into consideration, doing enough due diligence. And yeah, that one, I think we've got some more viewings later on in the week. However, we'll probably put one offer in on that one, expecting our first offer to get knocked back. If the first offer does get accepted, then it's like a great but not really so good feeling, because you know that you could have achieved probably a better price, definitely. So I hope that has in some way helped some people out there. If you haven't done so yet, like I said, maybe invest in a copy of my latest book. There's a paperback version and hardback version. The Property Investor's Blueprint, a black belt approach to property investing. Now again, there's, 380 pages there. It does talk about strategies, it does talk about locking in profit, it does talk about the refurbishment process. However, embedded throughout most of the chapters there is some of the black belt mindset and some of the black belt principles that you'll need in order to obviously grow your portfolio. That's probably the first one of about at least another one, maybe another two, where I will start to dig a little bit deeper into and obviously share a little bit more of that black belt mindset and the black belt approach you need to building your property portfolio. And again, ultimately building upon your wealth every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, and thinking long term. I know I finish off most videos like this, but black belts aren't built overnight. We need to understand that. We need to understand we're on a journey and that we're always continually getting better. showing that resilience, showing that perseverance, and so on. I hope that helps a few people. Take care, and like I said, not for the £3.67 or £3.92 that we receive from Amazon, but invest in a copy of that, and also be great if you left a review. 5-star please would be fantastic. Let other readers know what the book's about and so on. Good luck. Maybe watch some of the other videos if this is the first video you've ever seen. Take care.